Kamala's a very low IQ person. She's a very low IQ. I think Kamala should have a test because there's something missing. There's something wrong with her.
So Donald Trump gave an interview to Joe Rogan, or it's even better to say probably that it was not exactly an interview, that he had a conversation with Joe Rogan. And it's kind of a big deal for American society, and, well, to be honest, not only for American society but for the whole world, because we kind of depend on USA policy. My overall impression of this conversation was that basically Donald Trump kept campaigning. He was campaigning throughout the whole interview, always trying to pitch his achievements and always saying like, me, I did that, I did this, I won over the ISIS, like I'm a fucking Superman, basically. But interestingly enough, I noticed that he almost never was really direct and almost never dived deep into the topics that they were discussing with Joe Rogan. Basically, a lot of his answers, if not most of them, seemed to me quite superficial and not addressing often the question directly, like Joe Rogan asking him something and he starts to jump from this topic to another topic, then he starts talking about something absolutely different. But probably this is not only specific to just Donald Trump. I think maybe it's a professional quality of being a good politician. So it's like you have to know how to move over the questions, how to try to avoid talking about something that you are maybe not a big expert in, or that you just probably talking about something that it's not beneficial to you. So, well, he was being a typical politician, but still he managed to talk about things that he obviously was not an expert at all. And also, to be fair, some of the things he was saying seemed quite reasonable to me. Like, much more reasonable than things that Democrats are saying, for example. So it was quite an interesting watch. And let's check what Joe Rogan told about Trump himself.
He said a lot of wild shit.
Maybe. Maybe
He said a lot of wild shit, and then CNN, in all their brilliance, by highlighting your wild shit, made you much more popular.
Yeah.
And they boosted you in the polls because people were tired of someone talking in this bullshit, pre-prepared politician lingo. And even if they didn't agree with you, they at least knew whoever that guy is, that's him. That's really him. Yeah. When you see certain people talk, certain people in the public eye, you don't know who they are. You have no idea who they are. It's very difficult to know. You see them in conversations. They have these pre-planned answers. They say everything. It's very rehearsed. You never get to the meat of it. One of the beautiful things about you is that you freeball. Like, you get out and you do these huge events and you're just talking.
Here I kind of agree with Joe Rogan, because I think nowadays our politicians are so used to just reading scripts from the teleprompter and to have these speech writers. I think it's not like it's been like 50 years ago. And Donald Trump is probably this rarest bird that is often letting himself go off the script, and definitely he lets his personality shine. Not always in the greatest way, but certainly you can see his personality through his speeches. And it's not exactly the same case with Kamala Harris, with Joe Biden, definitely, and or Barack Obama, or take almost whoever else. So here I could agree, and I think despite Donald Trump told a lot of horrible shit, which definitely took points off him, but in general probably it's helping him, because being genuine and being authentic is a rare thing nowadays. I think normal average people can see that, and they tend to value this, even despite of the facts that a lot of things that Donald Trump told so sincerely off the script are really not politically correct and just not correct at all.
One thing I can tell you, Joe, everybody wants the position.
Of course.
No, but sometimes I'll hear a lot of people don't want to work with Trump because Trump is tough to work with, etc. Let me tell you, everybody wants to be any one of these positions. They die for it.
Of course.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because it seems like he's trying to present that all of these people wanted so much the position, as if that would be kind of his achievement or something, or if that would be weird. I mean, it's from my point of view, it's totally normal that any person on these high-ranking politicians, of course they want for their careers this super high position in the administration of a president of the United States of America. It's almost anyone's politician dream, despite whoever is the president. It's not like just, oh, because of the Trump, I'm so ideologically against him that I would never take the position. Most of people, they want to make a great career, so it's not exactly weird, I think, like Trump is trying to show it like, wow, that you wanted to work with me. No, they would want to work with anyone, I think. But also I think he is not that difficult person to work with. It's just my subjective psychological impression from him, but I think even that Kamala Harris is, like personally, that she's harder to work with, that she has more probably difficult character. I don't know, it's just maybe counterintuitive guess, but I think Donald Trump is kind of I'm not sure if to say reasonable, but you can kind of find a common language with him. He is a businessman, so if you find the way to show him why you need to make your work this or that way, or why certain things needs to be done, I think it's quite possible to convince him, and I think he is relatively reasonable with the stuff. Except, of course, for some topics that probably are of his vital interests, like interest for these big businesses, big corporations, because we all know, of course, Trump is this capitalist and just hardcore millionaire who will always, of course, protect the interests of the huge businesses and corporations. But I don't think he is like really difficult character to work with. Another thing that I was kind of shocked to see is how easy he's using all of the kind of insulting words. Just check yourself.
You know, Kamala's a very low IQ person. She's a very low IQ. I think Kamala should have a test because there's something missing. There's something wrong with her. So the guys that went there are arrogant. You know, they're arrogant fools. They're like stupid fools.
I mean, throughout the program, you could have heard things like they are idiots, they are stupid, a low IQ person, and things like that. He like didn't doubt a single second to use this kind of harsh words, and I don't know. Maybe I'm used to hear more like European politicians, and yes, sometimes they are fighting with each other and using some kind of implicit insults, but not so open and not so direct. I mean, I always thought that on such a high level of politics, a certain level of culture is somehow required, that you wouldn't use these words or these insults. It's the level of primary school, saying like, you idiot, no, you're idiot, you're stupid, no, you're stupid. Like, Jesus, we are having a possible future president of America. But don't get me wrong, I mean, Kamala Harris is more or less on maybe not the same, but kind of similar level, because I know that Democrats are also using things like implying that he's a Hitler and a liar, and also a lot of harsh things. And yeah, I'm kind of surprised. Or what happens with the high-level politicians? I think the world is maybe just degrading. It's just, I don't know, it's worse than being on Reddit and reading the comments. It's not what I would expect from people who are responsible for a whole nation somehow. But well, that's what we have. And welcome to the modern world and the modern American political environment.
I get that question as much as almost any question. Do you think that we have aliens coming, flying around or whatever?
What do you think?
There's no reason not to. I mean, there's no reason not to think that Mars and all these planets don't have life, because
Mars, we've had probes there and rovers, and I don't think there's any life there.
Well, maybe
yeah, this is one of the examples where he was talking about the things that he shouldn't have. Oh no, I mean, saying that basically I see no reason why there couldn't be a life on any planet of our solar system is a very weird thing to say. Well, why? Well, maybe because other planets of solar system have the conditions that are incompatible with any form of life. I don't know. Just the fact that seems to be kind of a basic knowledge for most people, and for a possible future president to show that, yeah, he really didn't like astronomy lessons. It was kind of mistakes. I mean, yeah, of course, on Mars there are some speculations that there could have been a bacterial form of the life, or at least in the past, but come on, in general, saying something like this. But well, for Trump wouldn't be the first time he likes to talk about things he is not really an expert. When he was talking about environmental issues, it was also quite clear that he is not very knowledgeable, at least not profoundly, but he knows something, but still he is very biased and he loves oil. He even himself clearly told that. But it's also true, some things about the environmental issues that he raised, that not all of the so-called clean energy sources are really clean. And especially I liked the reference about the electric cars using the electricity which is produced by the coals. It's a super dirty source of it, so it's kind of ironic.
The rebels are Republicans now. They're like, you want to be a rebel, you want to be punk rock, you want to buck the system, you're a conservative now. That's how crazy. And then the liberals are now pro silencing criticism. They're pro censorship online. They're talking about regulating free speech and that regulating the First Amendment. It's bananas to watch.
Oh yeah, I totally agree with Joe Rogan on that. And this is kind of crazy. It seems like the world turned upside down. And indeed, to be a leftist openly is right now is somehow to associate yourself with all of these crazy policies that are going on around in the world. With it means to associate yourself with a pro-censorship, and the worst of this, it means to associate yourself with pro-war. This is crazy for me, because I personally consider myself as a person being from far left spectrum of political and economic beliefs, and I'm not ashamed of this. But I don't want to associate myself with so-called left, which is, of course, especially in America, it's a fake left. The people who openly promoting the war in Ukraine, in Russia, in the Middle East, no, guys. And to go against these visions, it considers somehow to be a far-right or conservative person. Yeah, the world's gone mad. What can I say? I think this shit started happening since COVID times, when different Western countries started to implement very draconian measures to fight COVID. Absolutely not a democratic. Just remember that at some point Australia almost had, not almost, I think they had actually a concentration camps for people who were coming from other countries. I think they had these camps to check them for a few days or something. You can Google it. It was kind of crazy news. And Austria, the very democratic European country, they almost had people obligated to make a shot against their will. Thankfully, it's just the pandemic finished before they actually started to control this and to force this on people with the help of police. But that was crazy. I think from these times, everything started to go to shit. To associate yourself with the left became kind of cringe, to my opinion. And then when the war in Ukraine started, even more. I mean, people from the left side supporting the war, supporting hundreds of thousands, people keep dying. I just cannot make this to settle in my mind. This is crazy. And especially what is even more crazy, not just leftist, but the Green Party. For example, a Green Party in Germany, which is supposed to be super pro-ecology, pro-life, life like in a humanitarian sense, life of the animals and all of things like that, right? The ecosystems. They are pro-war! They are one of the most active pro-war proponents. Let's keep helping Ukraine, let's keep fueling this war with more weapons, more deadly things, and somehow supporting then that the Ukraine make a conscription of more and more young men for them to die. It's so green. And the war, of course, the war is so friendly for the ecology. Yeah, what could be better? Green Party, yay, yeah, progressive. So yeah, I totally agree with Joe. The world gone mad. I still consider myself a person with left political views, but these people who are ruling right now, they have nothing to do with left, Marxist, whatever kind of political views that I associate myself with. And I really think people from far right, which is crazy, are more reasonable in a lot of topics that are really crucial for our survival even. Because, come on guys, but the risks of a nuclear war is a real one, and the far right people seems to be that they realize that, and left people not.
I don't think these formats are good. I don't think that two people, first of all, I hate the idea of the presidential debates because I hate the idea of a time limitation on complex ideas. Also, you have to break.
I think you have to have the debates, though.
Right, but the way they do the debates, I think, is the wrong way to do it. I think they should have a conversation. I think you and Kamala, you sit across a table with no one in the room but the two of you. Of course, you're not going to shout at each other. Of course, you're not going to insult each other.
Well, I personally don't see why the debate format is not good. I think indeed all of kind of formats are legit, and all of them should be used and implemented and broadcasted in different media. Debate with the strict rules is also great because it put in some additional pressure to the politicians, and we can see how really they can manage a stress because, being a politician of such a high level, you will have to do a lot of negotiations with other countries' leaders and with businesses, corporations, you have to show how you can handle it. So it's also great. But the free conversation mode is also very legit, and it's also nice to be able to see them showing off as a human beings, yes, as what kind of personality they have, which is not easy to make through the debate, but it's easier to make through the conversations like Joe Rogan had with Donald Trump. And well, unfortunately, it looks like he is not going to have this with Kamala Harris unless something changes. So here I think all kind of formats should be valid.
And let's say you win in November. What do you do differently, and how do you change this course that it seems we are on for World War III? How do you get us out of Ukraine? How do you stop what's going on in the Middle East? How do you put a stop to this?
Well, it's a very to me it's an easy question because I think I can do it easily, but it's a complex question in the sense that the times change, every day changes. Who's winning, who's not winning? I mean, Russia's a war machine. Whether you like it or not, it just grinds along. You speak to people like Viktor Orban, he'll tell you it's just a big, fat war machine, and that's what's happening. You look at what's happened to Ukraine. If I were there, it would have never happened.
But what could you do now? If you get into office in January, what could you do now?
Right now, you would get both of them. I know both very well. And again, I do not want to tell you, for the purpose of looking smart to 5 people that say, oh, he was great. Because if I told you exactly what I do, I could never make the deal. All I can tell you is that I would meet with Putin and I would meet with him, and I know exactly what I'd say to each one of them. And I believe that as president-elect, I would get that war stopped, and stopped fast.
So I like that his intentions are to stop the war, to stop this madness and people dying. But he really didn't tell how he would do that. He implies that he knows for sure a way to persuade both Putin and Zelensky regime. And well, my guess would be that probably he would use kind of negative leverage for Zelensky, like saying to him, well, I will just cut off you from the funding and from military help if you don't do this and that. And for Putin, probably he would use some kind of positive leverage, like telling him, like, if you seize this or seize that, maybe that I will just cancel some of the sanctions or things like that. I don't know, because I really cannot see him using negative leverage for Putin, because what he can do? Threaten Russia with using nuclear weapons? Well, I mean, he's a reasonable guy in this aspect. He doesn't want to die. He doesn't want the America to burn in flames. So it's not, I don't think he will start using this rhetoric with Putin in negotiations. Doesn't seem like, at least. Of course, I don't know. And also he cannot threaten Putin with sanctions, because basically all of kind of sanctions, they already are implemented. So not much thing to do. So I'm really curious what it is he has in mind. But I am hopeful, at least, that the intention seems to be to stop the war and not to keep fueling this. Like right now, Democratic Party is showing that their intentions would be that, to keep everything the same, to fight the war until, like this expression, until the last Ukrainian or the last Russian, but it's harder because there are much more Russians there, and just letting the war unfold until I don't know what, until eventually Ukraine loses, or until everything gets escalated to the global war of a nuclear level, because there is only 2 ways. Or Ukraine loses fully, completely, or USA and the West joins the war, and then the scale of the war might be devastating for the whole planet. That's just 2 variants of how it can go. And the second variant is more probable with Democratic Party right now, at least from what I can hear from the rhetoric, than from a Republican Party. So I think overall this interview was quite favorable to Donald Trump, despite, yes, he fucked up a few times during the interview, but I mean, for him it's not the first time to do. But overall, it's a big plus to his PR that he agreed to have this conversation with Joe without any additional and special demands, like, for example, did Kamala Harris. Looks like she wanted Joe to come to her and set up the time limit of 1 hour. It's not what Joe Rogan is doing, so he had to cancel the interview on these conditions, and it definitely plays in favor of Trump. But well, we will see how the elections will turn out. If I would be an American, I think it's quite crazy, but I think I would vote for Trump just because his takes on the global policy seems to be more reasonable than that from Democrats. That's why, and I think the risks of escalation of the wars to the nuclear level is of a higher priority than the domestic things, because if we have a nuclear war, like, no one will care about the LGBT rights and about anything else, and about abortions, which I really don't like how the Trump sees that, because he's seems to be a guy quite restrictive with this. But first of all, I think the safety and the survival is the priority, and then already the domestic policy. So that's it for today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.